All right. Welcome back to the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode number 10. That's right. 10. That's 2 digits. I'm assuming you knew that, but I'm still pretty impressed with myself. What's less impressive is the fact that I haven't been on here for a little over a month, but I have been on the Big Salad Show. Make sure you're listening to that on the channel. A lot of my time's been taken up with that at the moment. That's every Monday, it's supposed to be every Monday. This week, both Quinn and I had unexpected occurrences that ended up making it so we couldn't record. And when the next time we were able to do it was tonight, and we were both like, well, we might as well just wait till Monday. So the Big Salad will have the week off. So I decided, might as well do a Sort of Sports Podcast episode. I think relatively soon I'll probably figure out a schedule for this show, but at the moment it's just kind of whenever. But the Big Salad is every Monday, and always planning on it to be Monday unless there's something really weird. Quinn and I really try to leave our Mondays open so we can do that. It was just weird occurrences. On the show today, we're going to discuss some stuff that we were supposed to talk about on the Big Salad. We're going to leave the national championship talk about March Madness to Quinn and I, even though it's exactly 2 weeks late. I still really want to discuss that with him because we talked a lot about March Madness. But there's some things on here, my thoughts on WrestleMania, MVP talks, the NBA, that are more me-central, so we're going to talk about that. And I did promise an MLB preview, and that's what the majority of this episode will be of. So sit back, relax. This will probably be a pretty long one because I do love me some baseball. We're going to start off the show with everything non-baseball related. What a way to completely ruin momentum. And we're going to start out with the NBA. Probably my favorite sport. Definitely my favorite sport, basketball. So, first thing we're going to talk about is what I always talk about, and that's the MVP conversation. Jokic has been skyrocketing. The moves at the deadline there for Denver, getting Aaron Gordon was a great move for them. That's completely jolted their offense. And I think Jokic, between the Embiid and LeBron injuries, I said it was going to get weird fast, where other guys may be coming into the fold, and the Nuggets could potentially end up with the top 3 record in the West, maybe top 2 if the Suns or Jazz slow down. So, yeah, he's having that we've never seen. I don't know if he's having we haven't seen something like this type season. I don't think it's the level of 2016 Steph Curry, where it was just like, oh my gosh. But it is an incredible season where you're like, I've never seen a guy play basketball like this with his size. So I think that uniqueness really lends itself to an MVP conversation. So I do think Jokic is the front runner right now. And if things ended today, that's who I'd vote for. But if Embiid can get back on it and the Sixers can end up the number 1 seed in the East, I think it's got to be Embiid. Lakers been slowing down without LeBron and Davis. That's very expected. I'm not worried about their playoff. I do think if you wanted to put a gun to my head and make me choose the NBA Finals, I would go Nets-Lakers. To be honest, I might take the Nets in that one, but that's tough. But my personal prediction, if I had to really pick, I just got a feeling. I mean, I want to say the Bucks, obviously, but I think the Sixers really, really want to go get it, and I think they've got it. I think they could really go for it, but I shouldn't say that because I'll probably curse them. Maybe it's just the Big Salad where I curse people, though. I think maybe my Sort of Sports Podcast predictions are okay. So I do think the Sixers got a good shot. I could see the Jazz or Suns, but most likely coming out of the West, I'm going to go Lakers. So Lakers, Sixers, Lakers, Nets, those are like the 2 biggest. Maybe Lakers, Bucks, probably 3rd or 4th biggest. The Nuggets, though, are a really well-built playoff team. Like I said, the Jazz and Suns are really hot right now. I don't see any signs of them slowing down. Chris Paul is playing amazing for the Suns. Obviously, we can't not talk about Devin Booker. He's been great, and him and Donovan Mitchell, both 2 young guys leading teams to the playoffs, very impressive. Shout out to Luka Doncic, by the way. He just hit a crazy buzzer beater. You should all go look it up right now. Over the Grizzlies to win the game against them last night. That was insane. The Hornets are not as fun without LaMelo. They will not be on the most watchables. We've had a whole month of no watchables, so if you haven't been watching NBA because there's no most watchables, I appreciate it, and you're probably the most dedicated person that listens to me. That's quite impressive. You watch basketball based off solely what my opinion is. And I would be impressed, but I don't think anyone does that because that'd be a bit odd. And the Hornets are not as much fun without LaMelo, so I would not recommend watching them at the moment unless it's just kind of a Frankenstein experiment thing where you want to see the control group or something. You want to see like what a team looks like without him. But yeah, I mean, Miles Bridges is still really fun to watch, but it's not as cool without LaMelo lobbing the ball to him. So now that we're talking about most watchables, let's get to the most watchables. Coming in at number 5, we have the Phoenix Suns. The Jazz will not be on this list. I'm just going to preface that now because I like the Suns' style of play more right now. I think it's a lot of fun to watch Chris Paul run the offense. You've got to love a good Chris Paul team. Devin Booker's crazy good at scoring. DeAndre Ayton's developing. They're a fun team, and they got one of my favorite college players ever in Frank Kaminsky. He was an absolute dog when he was with Wisconsin. Number 4, we have the Nets. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. The level of talent they have on that team is incredibly impressive, and when they're all healthy, it's really fun. And Nicholas Claxton is quite the underrated guy. So watch Nicholas Claxton, the young guy for the Nets. He's cool. 3 is the Sixers. We all know I love Shake Milton. We know I love this Sixers team. Embiid's about to be back and hitting it on all cylinders. The Sixers team is a great basketball team, and everybody's got to be watching them. Number 2 is the Nuggets. I just talked about how they're cranking on all cylinders. They're just jetting, man. If you're not watching the Nuggets, you're missing out. They're playing some great basketball. And number 1's got to be the New York Knicks. I'm serious. The Knicks have really made me entertained this year. I love Julius Randle being an all-star level player. RJ Barrett's developing. They just beat the Pelicans last night. And who would have thought if I would have told you a couple years back that the Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball Pelicans would lose to the Knicks with RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and no one was really that surprised? I think you'd probably give me a really dirty look or say I'm stupid. But turns out neither of those things were valid responses because RJ Barrett and Julius Randle are killing it. And shout out to everybody there. Emmanuel Quickley. Frank Ntilikina's even been good on defense for them. They're just a good team. I've been incredibly impressed with the Knicks. I like watching them. I can't wait to see them in the playoffs. I don't want to say I want to see them in the playoffs because I think they're going to be a playoff team. Honorable mention, though, to the Miami Heat. That Victor Oladipo trade has really made them a legitimate contender to do what they did last year in the playoffs, where they just don't have the highest seed, but they end up beating some high-seeded teams because Jimmy Butler is a bad man with a plan. So he is very good at basketball. He's got a very killer mentality. Now, if you felt like I jetted through those categories, it's because I did. I'm very excited to talk about the MLB. Next up, we have WrestleMania thoughts. A lot of people who listen to this do not watch wrestling, and I know that, so I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. WWE had the main event of night 1, because WrestleMania is now 2 nights, be a women's championship match between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks has been one of the top WWE women's stars in the last 5 years, and she was great in this match and completely put over the new young star Bianca Belair, who, for people that don't watch wrestling, I would say she's the closest thing I've seen to like the female The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson. She's incredibly charismatic, super athletic. She feels like a real person, but yet she's a really interesting wrestling character. She's a lot of fun to watch, and they put her over huge. So, part of me wants to see Becky Lynch return this Friday because I love Becky Lynch. She's my favorite wrestler ever. But I don't really want her to come in and have to end Bianca's reign. So maybe she goes to Raw because Bianca's on SmackDown. So maybe she can go fight for Raw. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm assuming they're going to put Becky on SmackDown because that's the show that's on Fox, and Fox will want Becky because she's one of their biggest stars. But dang, Bianca Belair is good, and she's got to hold the title for a while. Roman Reigns won in the main event. Roman Reigns, also one of my favorite wrestlers right now. He's went from a guy one of the wrestlers I hate the most to one of my favorites. He's completely turned around with this whole heel gimmick of being like the tribal leader. He's incredibly interesting. He's like calculating and cold when he speaks. He's just so good right now, and I got to hand it to him. It's really impressive what he's done, and having him retain a WrestleMania I think was a really, really good choice by WWE. To be honest, I'd have him hold the title all the way to next year. or he can get cashed in from Money in the Bank because he's so good. I don't even think anyone should be able to beat him in a singles match for like ages. Maybe Big E if you want to put him over huge, but that's it. Like Roman's reign should last a while, pun intended. Last thing, I just learned about this about an hour or so ago. One of my favorite wrestlers. I know it's not like I have I do have a lot of favorites, but my top 5. We've talked about 3 out of my top 5 favorites. I wish I could work in Keith Lee and Kenny Omega, but we didn't really have a chance. So one of my other top 5 favorites, Samoa Joe. Well, I guess I did just work him in by saying that. Samoa Joe was just released by WWE. This sucks, along with other people, Billy Kay, Mickey James, a couple other names, and it really sucks, especially because they have a no-compete clause till July. So wherever Samoa Joe goes, I will follow. I will definitely keep tabs on him because I love the way he wrestles, and he's one of the best promos, I think, in the world, potentially ever. He's so good. So wherever Samoa Joe goes, I will be watching. And that is all we have for non-MLB stuff. I hope I wasn't talking too fast because I was just really excited to get on to MLB. And I realize that, we're 2 weeks into the season and I'm doing a preview, so my predictions are going to be a little more accurate. But not a lot of my predictions have changed. I've told many of my friends, MLB is a marathon, not a sprint. So even though the Reds are kicking right now and the Red Sox are, I don't put too much stock in that. Same thing with the Phillies. But, if they keep kicking and they keep on this hot streak, a lot of my predictions will be wrong because I didn't change very many of them. So let's get on with the predictions. We're going to start out in the NL East, which is the best division in baseball, pretty much widely considered. It's a very good division. I think the worst team there coming in last place will be the Marlins. The Marlins, I think, had an incredible season last year. They're definitely a building team, and it's really great that they got playoff experience last year because of the expanded playoffs. And I was a person who was I really like the expanded playoffs. I like the universal DH. I think all the rules they put in last year I would keep. If you want to cut the international tiebreaker where you put a guy on second once you get extra innings, I completely understand that. But I like the expanded playoffs, and I like the universal DH because, in my opinion, if you're going to have a DH, you might as well let everybody do it. But not to get too off topic, the Marlins, they're just a building team. They got some good pitching. They got some young guys, but really their farm team is where most of their stuff's at. So they're going to get some random wins there. They could sweep a good team in a series randomly because they've got talent. It's just not materialized fully yet. So that's why they come in 5th place. We're going to jump up to the Nationals. Nationals, I think if they're in the NL Central, they're a playoff team. And, yeah, they got one of the best players in baseball, Juan Soto. For my money, he's the 3rd best player in baseball. He's incredible. He's incredibly likable, fun to watch. He hits the ball insanely well. He's so good. But this Nationals team, it's a really good team, but there's 3 other better teams. I don't really know how else to say it. They still got pieces of that World Series championship team with Strasburg still there, Scherzer still there. Obviously, they still have Soto. Rondon was a huge part of that team, though. So Rondon not being there anymore, I think, really does affect them. But Trey Turner's really nice. So we're going to go down to number 3 in the NL East, and that's the Phillies. The Phillies have a really hot start right now. The Phillies are a really good team. I just like the other 2 teams more, and I think I'm pretty high on the Mets, and I could definitely understand if you want to put the Phillies above them, but I'm really high on the Mets. I don't know why. I really like what they got going on, and I'm about to talk about them, but I should probably talk about the Phillies. So JT Realmuto, really good. Rhys Hoskins, really good. Bryce Harper, they just got bats, but I don't love their pitching. I really don't love their bullpen. They don't have bad guys, but they don't have anybody that pops off the page. So that's my thoughts with the Phillies is they got the bats. I don't think they have the bullpen. And I think the Mets are a more balanced team. The Phillies are a very hit-heavy, a lot of hitters, not as much pitching, whereas the Mets, who are my number 2 in the NL East, I love the Mets. I was just watching a Mets game last night. They got, Pete Alonso. They got Jacob deGrom, the best pitcher in the MLB. And of course, Francisco Lindor, just, also one of the best players in the MLB. Top 10. Some guys I know say top 5. It's a real battle for me to decide who's better, him or Tatis. I mean, I think it has to be him just because Tatis has never played a full season. But if Tatis has a better season this year, it'll be a real conversation who's better, him or Tatis, from a shortstop perspective. Who's best shortstop? So back to the Mets. The Mets got it going on. I mean, for the next 4 to 5 years, I think they're going to be legit. If they got Trevor Bauer, I'd have them first in this division. I really like what they going on. I could see them in the pennant. I'm serious. If they got hitting on the right night, they're one of the best teams in the MLB. So I just think they don't have enough there for me to put over this team that I love. That's the number 1 in the NL East, and that's the Atlanta Braves. What more can I say about Atlanta hasn't already been said? Ronald Acuna, spoiler alert, he is my pick for NL MVP. Him, Lindor, Tatis are probably my top 3 picks. But I'm going to go with Acuna. He's incredible. And they got Freddie Freeman, one of the best first basemen in the game, if not the best. And Marcell Ozuna. What more do you want? That team's got their first 3 batters, crazy. Lower down the line, you got Dansby Swanson. You got guys. And I like their bullpen a lot. They don't have the biggest names out of their bullpen, but I mean, they just got it going on. They got a young bullpen, though. That's the one issue with the Braves that I have, is they do have a very, very young bullpen. So we're going to move down to, move west to the NL Central. Worst team in baseball is Pirates, so they're 5th in this division. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that Brian Hayes is really good, and that's really it. And they traded all their good players away. So, yikes. 4th is going to be my favorite team, the Cubbies. I'm not going to lie to myself. Yikes. We really got to get it going on. They still got my second favorite player in baseball. Used to be my favorite, but I really like Tatis. So, Chris Bryant. It's him and Tatis, my 2 favorites. So, I like the signing of Jake Arrieta, but I just don't think they have it going on. This division is weird. It's there's not really there's one terrible team, and then one team that's and then the top 3 teams you're yeah, they're pretty good, but you don't love any of them. So it's kind of a weird division. It's disgusting, maybe, and then pretty good. So moving over to the pretty goods is the Reds. I put in 3rd. I know a lot of Reds fans are high on this team. I like the team. I just don't know if they got enough compared to the Brewers and Cardinals, who I have above them. They got nice pitching, though. They still got good players. I like Hunter Green a lot. He's a dual threat where he pitches and he swings the bat. So will him and Shohei Ohtani be the 2, big guys that are starting? Because we're seeing more of a trend for pitchers that hit the ball well, and I'd like to see that happen. But I like the Reds, but I think they're probably the division winners next year or 2 years from now. But I don't see it happening this year, just because I like the Brewers, number 2, the Brewers. The Brewers, I could definitely put number 1. Christian Yelich, another one of the best players in the MLB. He's crazy. They got a really underrated bullpen. I got to say, they got good guys. So I just think the Brewers are being a little underrated. And we're going to move up to the number 1, and that's the Cardinals. I could realistically see the Reds winning this division. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Brewers did. I'm just putting the Cardinals number 1 because I just think on paper they're the best team. And while I do believe the Brewers are a better bullpen, I think the Cardinals have a much, much more sustainable and consistent lineup, and they got Nolan Arenado, the best third baseman in baseball. So, yeah, that really puts them over. If the Brewers had Arenado, I'd put them in there. If the Reds have Arenado, I'd put them as the number 1. Arenado is really just the X factor for me. The NL West, moving more west. Here we go. Number 5, the Rockies. They really only have Trevor Story. And please give Trevor Story to somebody. Shortstop is so stacked in the MLB, I feel like. Granted, I say that, but you probably pull a bunch of other positions that are stacked. But I'm saying shortstop to me, it's like Trevor Story, Francisco Lindor, Fernando Tatis Jr., Javier Baez. Like, there's all these really good guys at shortstop. But yeah, Trevor Story, Trey Turner, shortstop. Trevor Story, really the only guy there I like. I like the uniforms. I think the black and the purple looks nice, but past that, you better hope that you got some nice pieces from the Arenado trade. All right, number 4, the Giants. They're just kind of a boring team. I don't really love anything about them. I hope this doesn't sound too negative. It's just like, these are the teams I'm picking to be the worst in their divisions. I'm not in love with them. If you said the Giants were 3rd and the Diamondbacks were 4th or the Rockies were 4th, these bottom 3 teams in the NL West really don't matter. It's a really top-heavy division. But 3 is the Diamondbacks. Similar thing to the Giants. I just like some of their guys more, like Marte. I think they got a stronger bullpen. But Diamondbacks are just kind of a building team, and they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not terrible, but they're not good either. So, number 2 is the Padres. I think the Padres aren't, on paper, the Dodgers. Yeah, they combined to make the greatest team ever, the Dodgers and the Padres. On paper, I think the Dodgers are the best team in the MLB. But we've seen before with the Yankees teams in the last couple of years that just because you're on your best team on paper doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series or even make the World Series, as we've seen at the Yankees teams. And the Yankees have had the best team in the AL on paper the last 4 years, and they've never made it to the World Series. So I think the Dodgers are the best team on paper. That's why I have them number 1 in the NL West and the Padres number 2. But I love this Padres team. Yu Darvish, Musgrove. They got Blake Snell. And they got Yu Darvish and Musgrove. Musgrove just threw a no-hitter the other day. They're crazy. I think they're even scarier in the postseason than they are in the regular season. And I think Tatis, he's hungry. So he's really, and they got Machado. Like, they're a really good team. And everybody knows that they're a really good team. And them playing the Dodgers, that should be ESPN primetime television every time this season, because those are arguably the 2 best teams in the NL. Or actually, to be honest, I think the NL is the better league. So arguably the 2 best teams in the MLB. I think the Braves could shake a hand at that. But those are some good baseball teams. So I'm going to go Dodgers 1, Padres 2. All right. Now we are moving over to the AL. We're going to go to the AL East. So, Orioles, one of the worst teams in baseball. I don't know what else I got to say. Hopefully the Orioles eventually develop something. They've been a joke for a while now. Now, this is where I brought myself some pain. I wanted to put the Red Sox 4th. I really, I loved the Rays last season. I don't want to bet against them. But the Yankees and the Blue Jays I really like, and the Red Sox have started off hot. And when I look at the Red Sox team, I do think there's a lot of good stuff happening there. This AL East division's a pretty deep division. The Orioles are bad, but the Rays and the Red Sox, they're both pretty good teams. And then the Blue Jays and the Yankees, I think, are playoff-level teams. I know not as many people are high on the Blue Jays as I am. I don't think they have very good pitching, I will admit. But they got Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette, George Springer. They got bats out the wazoo. So I do like that a lot about the Blue Jays. All right, so that got me off topic a little bit, but I'm going to go 4 Rays, 3 Red Sox, 2 Blue Jays, 1 Yankees. You got to go Yankees number 1. They win this division almost every time unless the Red Sox are crazy good. The Rays obviously did last year. The Rays were amazing last year. I loved the Rays. But I don't think the Rays – I really like the Rays. I could see them, sneaking in a wild card, but I don't like them as much as I did earlier just because they lost Blake Snell, and I don't think that changes everything, but they had a very this is our moment feel to them. I don't think they're a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees that's a perennial contender. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm getting this 2019 Nationals vibe where it's like that was your big moment and you lost a major player. In Nats' case, it was Rondon. In the Rays' case, it's Blake Snell. And now you're going to take a step back. So I think the Rays definitely still have all the pieces to be a contending team from the next few years, but I think this is going to be a down year for them. Red Sox 3, Xander Bogaerts is obviously great. JD Martinez still can swing the bat. Andrew Benintendi still good. The pitching is not as good as it used to be, but when you're finishing third in your division, I don't think pitching is – you don't have to have perfect pitching. 2 Blue Jays, I already talked about them. 1 Yankees, you got to go with them. They, on paper, are the best team in the American League. All right, 5 for the AL Central. Moving west to the AL Central. Number 5 is the Tigers. Tigers are better than they used to be, but they're still the Tigers of the last couple of years, which is not a very good team. So that's pretty simple. 4 is the Royals. The Royals are actually, to me, more boring than the Tigers, but I just think the Royals end up winning more games. It's that simple. 3, the Indians. I could definitely see them taking the 2 spot. They've, recovered quite well from the Francisco Lindor trade because I think, for my money, the Indians have the best coaching for pitchers in the MLB. They consistently pump out Cy Young candidates, and I think that could carry them to the 2 spot in this division and the wild card. But I just like the Twins a bit more. That's why the Twins are my 2. The Twins are a big bat team with not a lot of bullpen. They should just make a deal to the Indians and try to get their bullpen, or the Indians should make a deal to the Twins and try to get their bats because, Twins got Donaldson, Nelson Cruz. They're a good team. So I like the Twins just a bit more, but if you told me the Indians made the 2 spot, I wouldn't doubt you. It kind of pains me, though, when I watch an Indians game anymore. Usually I know a lot of guys because living in Ohio, I pay a lot of attention to the Indians. A lot of my closest friends are Indians fans. And I can barely name you a single hitter in there. I can name you a lot of their pitchers, but the only hitter I can really notice is Jose Ramirez. That's like the only guy I know anymore for them that hits because they've traded a lot of their major pieces. So that's kind of a sad thing. Number 1 in this division is the White Sox. You're going to hear more in a little bit about how high I am on this White Sox team. I think the White Sox, for my money, are the best team in the AL. I don't know why. I just really like what they got going on. Tim Anderson is a really fun player, really good player. Luis Robert, we've heard a lot of hype around him, and I think he's living up to the hype. I don't know if he's going to be best player in baseball level hype, like people are saying, because people are trying to compare him to Mike Trout, but I think he'd be a top 5 player. Definitely top 10, top 15 guy, but maybe he'll become best player in baseball in the next couple of years, and I'll be shocked. But he's really good. Luis Robert, watch him. And, the pitching, like they just had Giolito. Giolito had a really good game the other day. Last night, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. He threw a no-hitter. I know I should probably remember it, but I just wrote out this entire thing, and I should have wrote it down. I really like this White Sox team. They got good bullpen. They got bats. And they have last year's AL MVP, Jose Abreu. So we know they're a good team. They went to the playoffs last year. They're going to do it again, and we're going to talk about more what I think they're going to do in the playoffs soon. Last division to talk about is the AL West. 5's the Rangers. They might be the most boring team in baseball. At least the Pirates have Brian Hayes. I'm not even a huge Joey Gallo guy. He's a fun player, but to me, he's just like a weaker version of Aaron Judge. I don't even want to talk about the Rangers other than the fact that they do have nice uniforms now. But 4 is the Athletics. I think the Athletics had kind of like that Rays team last year where they were just kind of on a hot streak. They obviously still have the really good combo of Matt Chapman. And, they still, their pitching is not the strongest. That's really their biggest issue. But I really like what's going on in Oakland last year. Like, I was really high on them. I was like, you know what? Maybe they could make a run for the World Series. And then it kind of fell apart at the end. So I guess what I'm saying about the A's is I don't want to put them in 4th place, but it's just looking at the other teams, I don't like what they have going on as much. And I cut myself off earlier. They have that good combo of Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, the third base, first base combo. But I'm looking at their players right now. No one jumps off the page for me. I just don't really like what they got going on as much as I did last year. I thought they just really caught a hot streak. And that's really what I have to say about the A's. It's just I'd like to see them do better, but I don't think they will. 3 is the Mariners. I like what the Mariners are doing. They're young, and they're getting better. Like, I don't want to say they're going far because they're not going to make the playoffs, but I think they're a fun team, and I really like the Mariners' young guys. Number 2 is the Astros. I would love to see the Mariners prove me wrong and get this spot. I don't want the Astros to make the playoffs, but they're still the Astros, so I don't even want to talk about them anymore. Number 1's the Angels. I know. I shouldn't, but I want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs so freaking bad, and it's probably clouded my vision because I just want to see it. I'm not like Mike Trout isn't one of my like top 3, 4, 5 favorite players, but you got to respect the fact that I think he's one of the greatest baseball players. He's going to go down as one of the greatest baseball players ever, and I want to see him have playoff moments, and I want the Angels to win World Series. Yes, I want them to win more than one World Series with him. I don't want to talk about Mike Trout as one of the greatest players of all time that didn't get to the World Series like we do with Ken Griffey. Ken Griffey never even won a pennant. So Mike Trout's got the same thing right now, and I want to see Mike Trout go far. But granted, I do not think this Angels team win a pennant. I just want them in the playoffs. And so I think it's got their best chance. They got Rendon, they got Shohei Ohtani. They're trying to get good. So, yeah, please, Angels, do well. We started off with the NL for projections for the season. So for playoffs, we'll go to the AL first. AL wild card, I have Blue Jays over Astros. I'm sorry, Twins. I don't think you're going to have as good a season as you did last year. I really like this Blue Jays team. I probably shouldn't be as high on them as I am, but I just really like what they got going on. They're a young team, and if they don't hit this year, they're going to hit on it next year. So I just think within this year or next year, they're going to get going, and I really like what they got going on, so I'm going to put them over the Astros. For the DS, I got Angels over Yankees. I know I shouldn't, but the Yankees consistently fall apart in the playoffs. And I just think this Angels team's the best team I've seen of Mike Trout probably his whole career. So I want to give him the look. White Sox over Blue Jays. We already talked how much I like this White Sox team, and I'm probably too high on the Blue Jays anyway. For the ALCS, I went White Sox over Angels. I said I was huge on the White Sox. I shouldn't be huge on the White Sox, but I am, and I'm going to stick with it. So White Sox over Angels. The White Sox are in the World Series right now for me. The NL playoffs, the NL wild card, it's Padres-Mets. I am sorry to the NL Central second place team, the Brewers. I think this Mets and Padres, you put them in the AL, they probably win a division because I do think the NL is much stronger, especially if you put them in like the AL West. I think the Mets or the Padres would win that division over any of them teams. I think Francisco Lindor, if he puts in an MVP season, they win this game, but I already said my pick for NL MVP, which we're going to talk about in a bit, is Acuna. So I'm going to go with the Padres over the Mets just because I like the Padres pitching more, but the Mets do have DeGrom and Syndergaard, and they're both good. Syndergaard's really not what he used to be. He used to be like really heralded, but DeGrom, and for my money, is the best pitcher in the MLB with probably Garrett Cole and Shane Bieber and Walker Buehler being the other three guys. Those are probably my top four right there. So, yeah, I'm going to go Padres over Mets. I really like the Padres. Then we get to the NLDS. We got Braves against the Cardinals. That's easy for me. Braves going over. Padres, Dodgers. I probably should say Dodgers, but I really like this Padres team. I've talked about it, and I just think they could get going and go for it. So Padres over Dodgers. NLCS, Braves, Padres. I really wanted to put the Padres over, but I think I got to go with the Braves. My brain knows that the Braves are a really good baseball team. So I'm going to go with the Braves. Braves, White Sox are my World Series. And a lot of people are taking the Braves in the World Series. It seems to be a pretty popular pick. If you don't have the Dodgers, you take the Braves. And I'm going to be really ballsy and maybe look like an idiot. And to be honest, I'm going to be completely honest. I am not doing these predictions to be ballsy. Like, my goal was not to just kind of goof around and have the Padres beat the Dodgers and have the White Sox win the AL. I legitimately believe that the White Sox can win the World Series. I legitimately do think the Padres are going to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. Are they risky picks? 100%. But I really like this White Sox team, and I got a feeling about them. So I'm going to go White Sox over Braves in my World Series. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But that's what I'm going with. I just think this White Sox team is a really, really good baseball team. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, why the White Sox? I look at them, I think they got a good team going on. So White Sox over Braves for my World Series. Let's talk about awards. Rookie of the Year, AL, I think it's going to end up being Randy Arozarena. He was probably the best player in the World Series from a performance perspective. So, he's going to win MVP, not MVP. No, he's going to win Rookie of the Year for the AL. And then NL, I got to go with Brian Hayes. Really like him. I already talked about how good he is. So, yeah. Then we're going to go for Cy Young. NL, I think DeGrom's going to get another one. He's DeGrom. The best pitcher in the MLB. The Mets are going to be a playoff team. It's going to go to DeGrom. The AL is really tough. And for the NL, I could see it being maybe Musgrove or Walker Buehler making a campaign, but I just think DeGrom's going to get the coverage because he's DeGrom. So AL's a lot tougher for me. There's a part of me that'd like to go Bieber, but I'm going to make a weird pick. And I know it's really weird, and I shouldn't do it, and I've already talked way too much, and I mean way too much, about the White Sox. But a part of me wants to go Lucas Giolito. I really like Lucas Giolito. And if, Shane Bieber got it back-to-back, I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm going to go Lucas Giolito. And Shane Bieber is my backup because he's really good. Shane Bieber, he's good. But yeah, I'm going to go Lucas Giolito for AL, Cy Young, DeGrom for NL. So, MVP, NL MVP, Ronald Acuna. Said it multiple times during this video. He's got it. I think Tatis or Lindor could put in a campaign, but it's going to be Acuna. Then for AL MVP, it gets real tough. But because the Angels are making the playoffs as the number 1 seed, I got to give it to Mike Trout. He's Mike Trout. I don't think there's any other argument for that other than the fact that he is Mike Trout. So anytime you're not 100% sure on who to give him the MVP to, you just give it to Mike Trout because he's the best player in baseball. So that is my picks for everything. Now, realistically, if I wanted to put money on the World Series, I would end up putting it on the Dodgers to win it. But I just think if I'm going to legitimately pick it, I think partially my feelings about baseball end up clouding my judgment a little bit in the fact that I really don't want the Dodgers to win it, and I just like this White Sox team. So I'm going to go with the White Sox over the Braves in the World Series. I'm going to stick with it. And I have a little something special to wrap up the show. Because we did not have a chance to do the Big Salad this week, Quinn wanted me to make sure I did the happy time for him. So, to wrap up the show, we're going to have a special Sort of Sports podcast, Happy Time, presented by me. So, make sure you tune in to the Big Salad this Monday, talking about March Madness, the National Championship. We'll talk about the moves the Browns just made to get Jadeveon Clowney, talk about if they need to move OBJ. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers with Jeopardy. We got a lot of good stuff. I'm going to have my special segment. We're doing a certain something with one of our favorite TV shows, so that'll be really fun. We got a brand new segment, and I will have another special section. I think that's just going to be my thing now. Every week I will have a new special segment that's just really whatever I want it to be, and I'm pretty excited about this week's. And, yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so make sure you tune into that one. And we're going to wrap up with some happy time, people. First off, a happy birthday yesterday, Wednesday, to Pete Rose. Pete Rose began his career at the Cincinnati Reds. He signed as a free agent with the Philadelphia Phillies, then to the Montreal Expos, and then traded back to the Cincinnati Reds in 1984 for his final 3 seasons. He became the hit king with 4,256 career hits. He was a 17-time MLB All-Star at an unprecedented 5 different positions: second base, left field, right field, third base, and first base. He was a 3-time World Series champion. He became a player manager of the Cincinnati Reds when traded back in 1984 and managed until the 1989 season. He was ineligible for election to the MLB Hall of Fame after the reports of him gambling as a player and a manager against the Cincinnati Reds. His latest attempt at being reinstated was when Commissioner Rob Manfred began his career at the top post, but it was rejected a few months later. And also, a happy anniversary today, Thursday, April 15th, to Pete Rose. He hit his 4,000th career hit as a member of the Montreal Expos in 1984 against the Phillies, hitting a double off of pitcher Jerry Koosman. So Pete Rose, very well known as the best Cincinnati Red ever. He definitely would be a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for that stuff. The MLB really hates to put in guys that have kind of glaring flags in them, like Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and him, where it's just like there's something about them that's they don't want to memorialize. And so he's obviously a Hall of Famer if it isn't for that, and a really, really amazing baseball player. And a happy trails to wrap up the show to the Braves losing to the Phillies. I actually watched that game live, and basically Didi Gregorius hit a sacrifice fly down the shallow left field line. Ozuna threw it home, but Bohm scores. They review the call, and they call him safe. And I actually had just gotten home. I knew that the Braves were playing the Phillies. I knew it was probably going to be a certified hood classic. Turned on the game. It was tied. I was extremely excited. It's top of the ninth in Atlanta. And my mother and I are sitting there watching the game. Bohm slides in. We're like, I think he was out. We watch it again. Yeah, he was out. They review it. We watch it. Yeah, he's out. They're going to call him out. And they called him safe. That's a bad call. And I kind of like the fact that the Braves fans threw their trash on the field. I found that quite funny. Having fans back in the stands really does change the game, and I enjoy having the fans there for that reason. The Braves manager was great. If you watched him whip himself in the face with his mask, that was funny. And you can tell what he was saying. John Boy Media, for those of you that don't watch him, for those of you who do, he's freaking great. But for those of you who don't watch John Boy Media, you can go look him up on YouTube right after you watch this. And he does MLB breakdowns, and he talks about a lot of the funny stuff that happens in MLB, where he reads guys' lips. A lot of times, like, when a manager, well, I don't want to say funny as much as, like, when weird stuff happens in baseball, like a guy like Michael Conforto leaning in for a walk, or a manager getting ejected. He reads the player's lips and sees and tries to say what they're trying to say, and he gives his opinion on it. So he's quite the funny guy. Everybody should check him out. But his video on this, he basically said it best. He's like, the MLB needs to, when they review something, they say that if they can't be 100% sure that the call made by the umpire is wrong, they'll keep the call. And his point is, he's like, why does it ever matter what the ump said? As soon as you watch the video, whatever the video says should be true. So that was his point. Basically, the MLB says they can't be 100% sure the ump was wrong. They just keep their call. He's like, if you're 99% sure that the video says he's out, just say he's out. Whatever the ump calls should immediately just not even matter anymore as soon as you look at the video. And I completely agree. I think the MLB review system, that was a great game. It was on ESPN primetime television, and right on Sunday night. And a lot of people probably watching that game and are peed off. So that's not a good look for your league. I love baseball, and it really sucks, especially because we know I really like the Braves. So, happy trails because the Braves beat the Phillies. Yeah, I think the Braves probably would have had a walk-off by Ozuna. They would have had that momentum on their side or something, and that would have been freaking great. But no, that was a bad call. And all the Phillies fans are trying to claim, well, there's bad calls all the time. And you're like, yeah, you're right, but there shouldn't be when you can review it and it's obvious. If it's a really close call, I completely understand if it's the wrong call. It's like we talked about with the Baylor-UConn game. But this isn't close. Like, he's close to the plate, but everyone knows that he's out. And the fact that the MLB review system is broken really sucks. So I didn't mean to end it on a negative note. This is a really fun show. I think I've gotten a lot faster at talking and organizing my thoughts now that I've been on the Big Salad with Quinn. And I really enjoyed coming back and doing a regular podcast. I'll definitely continue to do these. Hope we all enjoy my MLB preview. White Sox over Braves. Sockies. The Sockies for the World Series championship. Definitely a ballsy pick, but I just got a feeling about him. So go Sockies, and I will see you all Monday on The Big Salad.